Hello, this is Mahua Moitra, Member of Parliament from the All India Trinamool Congress. I wasn't able to be in Parliament this week because of the Bengal elections, but I would like to put out this short video to oppose strongly the Transgender Persons Protection of Right Amendment Bill 2026. I hope this video is circulated widely. The Transgender Persons Bill reflects the BJP's ideology. The Constitution of India assures each individual of dignity. Dignity means that a person is secure, that he or she can take decisions about their body and their life in a manner that they deem fit. No adult human being can be denied dignity under our Constitution. The ideology of the BJP and of the central government is anti-youth. Why? Because it denies young people the autonomy to decide who they want to marry, what religion they choose, what they eat, whom they live with, what clothes they wear, who they befriend, and how they express themselves. Our Constitution says, you decide who you are. This government says, we decide who you are. And if we don't like who you are, we will imprison you. What does this bill do? This bill undoes the Nalsa and the Puttaswamy judgments, which is in itself impermissible. The legislature cannot undo what the Supreme Court has laid down as a fundamental right. The Transgender Persons Bill 2019, which was brought in after a great deal of consultation, encoded the Nalsa ruling. The 2026 bill, on the other hand, the new bill, seeks to delete the provision on self-perceived gender identity under Section 4.2 of the 2019 bill. The section notes, a person recognized as transgender under subsection 1 shall have the right to self-perceived gender identity. So if a person perceives themselves of a certain gender, then that's what they should be allowed in everyone's eyes. But it stated, however, that a person identifies as their gender must be recognized, that one does not need to undergo medical procedures to be recognized, and that trans persons have an enforceable right to a certificate of identity based on their own self-declaration. That means the fact that they're trans depends on their self-certification, not a medical certificate. The 2026 bill's new definition only includes persons with named socio-cultural identities such as Kinnar, Hijras, Aravanis, Jogtas, or persons with specified congenital variations in their primary sexual characteristics, external genitalia, gonadal development, chromosomal patterns. But please explain to us, how does a person become a Hijra? Isn't it also through a self-perceived identity? Why have you excluded so many other socio-cultural identities such as Kotis, Mangalamukhis, Tirunangals, Tirunambis? Why have you excluded the Nupi Manbis and the Nupi Manbas? This bill undoes everything that the 2019 bill did. It's now under this bill, a transgender person must fit into a cultural identity such as Hijra, and an individual cannot self-identify anymore. It restricts trans identity to biological terms rather than social terms. This is a huge step backwards. And this bill also applies retrospectively. Protections that were previously given to trans people are also being undone. What are you going to do with the transgender certificates that have been issued between 2019 and 26 in the last 7 years? Do they become invalid? This bill introduces a multi-stage medical board process as a precondition for a transgender certificate. It requires hospitals which perform gender-affirming surgery to report the details of the patients to state authorities. In practice, this means that all transgender people will have to undergo a hostile medical procedure. We must remember that trans people often run away and hide from traditional families, from conservative families, and violent religious or cultural communities. This is happening all over, especially in rural areas. If hospitals have to report this information to the state, you may as well be inviting trans people to be lynched. That's what it's going to come to. Let me give you a small example. In rural areas, I have a rural constituency, so many arranged marriages break down due to non-consummation because the male is impotent. Tell me one thing, if the male is impotent, shouldn't every male before arranged marriage have to undergo a potency test under a medical board? Shouldn't that be a precondition? If you are imposing this on trans people who enjoy the same constitutional rights, why are you not imposing that as a precondition for marriage to take place between heterosexual couples? How can you do this under law? We have equality before law. Look at the criminal provisions of this 2026 bill. For example, in clause 7, if an NGO or a friend of a trans person helps them escape an abusive household, helps them escape a village and go somewhere else to safety, the NGO or the friend is also going to be punished with imprisonment for a term of not less than 6 months, but which may extend to 2 years. You're making them abettors to this so-called crime. What's going on? Look at subclause E of section 18 of the 2026 bill. What does it say? It says that if someone kidnaps an adult person, this isn't a grammatical error. This just shows the mindset of the BJP. How can an adult person be kidnapped? Is it possible? Can an adult person be kidnapped? This basically means that merely cross-dressing is going to fall anything that is outwardly presenting a transgender identity. So any man who decides to wear a skirt or cross-dresses is going to be imprisoned, and people who help them are going to be imprisoned. The question of consent is rendered pointless here. Absolutely pointless. Words such as allurement are also subjective. It is a stick in the police's hands. The statement of objects and reasons of this bill justifies this deletion by claiming that the act was never intended to protect persons with various gender identities. This is incorrect. The very purpose of the original act in 2019 was to protect self-perceived identity. The previous act of 2019 had a separate definition of intersex, which has been replaced with congenital variation in the new bill. This implies that it can be corrected. Now, what if someone wants to remain intersex and doesn't want to correct themselves? What will the gender column in their birth certificate say? You say nothing about forced gender reassignment surgeries of intersex children. These have not been banned by the bill. The government believes in the ease of doing business for its friends and difficulty for the rest. So, for their friends, everything is okay. For everyone else, for normal people, for trans people, marginalized communities, let's make life as difficult as possible. This bill mandates going to the district magistrate and a medical board for all transgenders. First, the trans person must obtain a positive recommendation from a state-appointed medical council. Then the DM at its own discretion can seek further evaluation from other medical reports. The Supreme Court has upheld the principle of non-retrogression. That is, once the right is granted, it cannot be taken away. This legislation is brazenly violative of this principle by declaring valid certificates for the past 7 years applied retrospectively can be declared invalid. What will you tell the transgender person who has just begun their lives under the sun free from fear? Their lives are still not completely free. They face immediate exclusion and violence from society. But at least the state does not persecute them. With the help of this bill, the state is also going to persecute them. If it was progress when we did away with the two-finger test in case of rape victims, it was progress when the courts recognized the fundamental right of a person to choose who they want to marry. It was progress when the courts granted protection to live in couples. It was this progress that our constitution demands, that people should be allowed to live freely and without fear. You seek to undo all of this with this bill. If you believe that mutilation is a crime, will you criminalize female genital mutilation of children? This bill argues that it is meant to prohibit those who mislead the world by saying something that they are not. In other words, you cannot express yourself unless a doctor approves. Please tell me, will you mandate a medical inspection of every person who wants to get married so that you can be sure that they are not impotent or infertile? Please do not bring this bill in. It is against the dignity of all trans people living in India and by default against the dignity of every human being, of every citizen living in Indian land. You as a government cannot take away our rights in this manner. Rethink the bill. Please send it to a committee. Do not bring the bill at this point. Thank you.